Good morning. You're watching World News, and I'm your host, Claudia Czerwińska. U.S. President Donald Trump floated the idea of the United States taking over the Gaza Strip. During his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump went on to say the American military would take care of unexplored ordnance and handle cleanup operations. Netanyahu reciprocated by claiming Donald Trump is the most Israeli-friendly president the White House has ever seen.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a...
I'm honored that you invited me to be the first foreign leader to visit the White House in your second term. This is a testament to your friendship and support for the Jewish state and the Jewish people. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. And that's why the people of Israel have such enormous respect for you.
President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says he would take part in talks on ending the war in Ukraine with Russia's President Putin if the U.S. and Europe were also involved. In an interview with British journalist Piers Morgan on his Talk TV show, Zelenskyy emphasizes the importance of security guarantees and the prospect of NATO membership in preventing future threats from Russia. Zelenskyy noted that if NATO membership talks dragged on for several years, Ukraine would need protection. He asked whether Kyiv be given sufficient missiles or nuclear weapons to counter Russia, but thought that unlikely. No one from Russia's leadership is untouchable, said the EU's chief diplomat Kaja Kallas last night. The statement came following a meeting of the core group on the establishment of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. According to Kallas, the body is nearly ready to operate, and lawyers are drafting the final versions of the required legal documents.
No one from Russia, no one from Russia's leadership is untouchable. That is the message that this tribunal sends. We had in this process involved, of course, Ukraine, External Action Service, European Commission, Council of Europe, also 37 states, and there is broad international support for this initiative, and that reflects also the shared commitment to accountability, which is important, that nobody is really untouchable. Accountability is also an integral part of just and lasting peace, and also the tribunals have to be set up before the war is over. Our experts are concluding work on the core legal text for the tribunal, and it is also very important to send a signal that unpunished crimes only encourage further aggression.
Polish authorities finished the construction of electronic security measures on the Polish-Belarusian border, with over 500 utility poles fitted with 1,300 cameras. The contract for the additional measures was signed in late February of 2024, and the barrier will serve as an extension of over 200-kilometer-long barrier on the Polish eastern border. Costing over €20 million and stretched over some 47 kilometers, the new system consists of high-end cameras and sensors intended to alleviate the migrant crisis orchestrated by Russian and Belarusian authorities. This is the latest security measure introduced on the border between Poland and Belarus. In 2022, Warsaw decided to build a 186-kilometer-long and over 5-meter-tall steel wall, which now serves as the main component of Poland's border security in the east. Could Belarus join the European Union in the future? Several European officials have said the bloc is open to the idea. The question was raised at the Kościuszko Forum in Gdańsk at an event held as part of the Polish EU presidency. Our reporter Kazimierz Łysiak was there and has more.
If Belarus were to become free, the European Union would like to extend an invitation for it to join the bloc in the future. That's the main message coming here from the Kościuszko Forum in Gdańsk, the largest event of the Polish presidency and the Council of the European Union regarding Belarus and its future.
A country with a majority of its territory located in Europe is a European country. Belarus and Ukraine unquestionably fulfill that criterion.
EU's door is open. This is also an important signal to all countries aspiring to EU membership. And I know that the Belarusian democratic forces have jointly declared that the democratic Belarus will pursue in EU integration. And our hope, and my hope, is that this message from the EU can be useful in the continued work of the Belarusian democratic forces and civil society in exile.
Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski invited here his Lithuanian counterpart, but also the Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine and the Minister for European Affairs from Sweden. But the main guest of honor was none other than Światlana Tsikhanouskaya, the exiled leader of the democratic opposition in Belarus. She said that she would like to see Western countries demand from Russia to withdraw its troops not only from Ukraine but also from Belarus during the potential future negotiations on the end of the war in Ukraine. The leader of the democratic Belarusian opposition said that she would like to see Poland to be one of the countries making that request.
Of course, there might be a representative of separate countries or a representative of the European Union, but I'm absolutely sure that Poland, as the leading country in the European Union, will have its seat there. And if it will be President or Prime Minister or Minister Sikorski at this table, for sure we ask everybody to speak on behalf of Belarusian people and to be our voice on this table of negotiations.
In general, this summit here was an expression of Western support for Belarus and its democratic opposition movements, and the leaders gathered here expressed their hope that Belarus could soon become free. From Gdańsk, TVP World, Kazimierz Łysiak.
The mayor of Warsaw and candidate for the Polish presidency, Rafał Trzaskowski, has said that Poland could have a bigger say in matters of refugee inflows. He also added that if Ukrainians fleeing the war were taken into account, that you would have to transfer billions of euro to Warsaw, given how many were taken in by Poland. Similar statements have been made by Donald Tusk in Brussels following an informal heads of state meeting. The comment came after the EU Commissioner for Internal Affairs and Migration said that Poland is obliged to fully respect the Pact on Migration and Asylum. Authorities in Warsaw, however, are against the deal, which includes the relocation of migrants from other EU member states. According to Polish politicians, Warsaw cannot be pressured by anybody in the EU, and there will be no permission from the country to implement any migrant relocation mechanisms. At a meeting in Warsaw, EU trade ministers agreed that they would prefer dialogue over a trade war with the United States. The Polish Minister of Development says that on the topic of trade, he expects a precise message from Washington instead of general announcements.
We want to wait calmly for a precise message from the American side, since for now we only have preliminary general announcements. We are united to undertake dialogue, a positive dialogue with the American side.
So we are ready to listen, we are ready to engage, to negotiate in our mutual interest. Having said that, the EU would respond firmly to any trading partner that unfairly or arbitrarily imposes tariffs on EU goods.
The scene of the shooting in Sweden was visited last night by the Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. After authorities surveyed the scene, Kristersson made a brief statement in which he expressed his condolences to the families of the victims. Calling it the worst mass shooting in Swedish history, the Prime Minister appealed to the public not to speculate and to give police enough time to investigate the crime.
Our thoughts are also with all the students, the school, the children, and young people around Örebro, whose school day today was replaced by evacuations and fear. Today we have seen brutal and deadly violence against completely innocent people. This is the worst mass shooting in Swedish history. But there will come a time when we will know what happened, how it could have happened, and what motives may have been behind it. Let's not engage in speculation. I would now like to appeal to everyone to give the police the peace of mind they need to investigate this horrific crime.
Greenland announced that it will hold general elections, the island's prime minister said on Tuesday. The vote will take place amid growing interest from the U.S. President Donald Trump in the Danish territory. The key issues in the election will be Greenland's independence, the island's economic development, and its relations with Denmark and the United States. The country's parliament unanimously approved the proposal to hold elections, setting the date for March 11th. Back in December, Donald Trump reiterated his desire to control the island without ruling out military or economic pressure. However, Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, reaffirmed its openness to international cooperation while rejecting U.S. annexation. Austrian media are saying coalition talks in the country are failing. The right-wing Freedom Party is currently trying to find coalition partners to form a government. On Tuesday, the leaders of two biggest parties in the Austrian parliament met for talks, but no statements to the media were made. So far, the parties involved in negotiations have not confirmed that the talks are failing. Protests against a coalition with the right wing took place on Tuesday evening on the streets of Vienna. The Freedom Party won the legislative elections in September of 2024, but it's the People's Party which was first given the chance to form a government. After the attempt failed, earlier in January, the President of the Republic assigned the task to the populist Eurosceptic Freedom Party. For now, Austria is ruled by a caretaker government headed by Alexander Schalberger. Serbian farmers have joined the massive anti-corruption protests sweeping the country. The demonstrations were sparked by the collapse of a railway station roof and triggered a political crisis in the country.
What I see as a solution is that the government will slowly step back. They will have to, because they see that something unexpected has now happened to the president, and the people have risen up.
The issues have grown increasingly complex for the past 12 to 13 years. It's illusory to anticipate their resolution to be so easy. If evil has been accumulating for 12 to 13 years, it may require several additional months for it to go away. However, we shall be patient. I see the way out in the fact that everything will be solved by meeting the demands of the students, and that the state will side with the students and recognize the demands as they are, which is that the institutions do their job.
And with that, we end our service, but please do stay tuned. We're back here on TVP World in just a moment for an interview with Diana Skaya.